Alright, we'll continue with the invasion of the Soviet Union. We left off discussing that Hitler would eventually make it to Stalingrad, which was a major city in the Soviet Union. It was here that he really began to experience what a bitter Russian winter felt like. Many Germans died from frostbite and other issues caused by the extreme cold. Food would freeze in seconds if you didn't quickly eat it. It was really rough. For almost 2 years, a vicious battle took place in the city as the Germans continuously tried to capture it. But they were losing lives each and every day. There were huge casualties on both sides, and Hitler would eventually have to give up. Almost immediately after the Germans invaded the Soviet Union immediately allied themselves with Great Britain and eventually the U.S. Alright, I want to talk about war in North Africa. So first of all, the reason we're going to talk about North Africa is kind of for two reasons. One, many countries owned colonies in Africa, so that's why battles took place there. When I say many countries, I mean German, England, France, like European countries. But also, it's geographically located just south of Italy. And at this time, we officially have an alliance between Japan, Italy, and Germany forming the Axis powers. That alliance is known as the Tripartite Pact. That spelling's on the screen, Tripartite Pact. This is an alliance signed by Germany, Italy, and Japan. And they officially become known as the Axis powers. Remember, Germany is happy to form an alliance with Japan because it would prevent us from hopefully entering into this war, because we'd have to fight it on two fronts. Now, with the battles being fought in North Africa, now that Hitler is allies with Italy, he wants to protect Italy, and geographically, I have a map here kind of showing you, North Africa is close to the southern part of Italy. So Hitler did send a lot of German troops to Italy to try to help them defend themselves against any allied invasion. Now, Great Britain will send troops to North Africa. Winston Churchill did want to launch an Italian invasion from North Africa, and so he needs to take North Africa first, because again, there are Germans and other soldiers in North Africa because fighting is taking place there because of the different colonies. The map kind of shows you the different areas that were occupied by different European countries. The Allies experienced multiple victories in North Africa. One victory in particular is, you don't have to know the name of the location actually, it takes place in El Alamein, but the key is the Allies were able to secure the Suez Canal, which was a really important waterway at this time. You can kind of see on the map, if it's not cut off, where El Alamein is, and that helps show how north it is of the North African continent, and that would provide a successful launching pad for a future Italian invasion that we'll talk about later. So we'll get into several other battles that take place in North Africa when the U.S. gets involved. And the two men pictured on the screen, one's just the Nazi German officer on the left who leads German campaign in North Africa, and the other is a British officer, Montgomery I think his name is. You don't have to know the names though. I want to introduce America kind of coming to enter this war. We'll start by talking about the great arsenal of democracy. So FDR was fairly certain that it would be impossible to negotiate any kind of peace with Hitler. And that greatly concerned him. What if Great Britain is to fall to the Germans? Then the Axis powers would be left completely unchallenged to conquer even further into parts of the globe. And FDR starts to sense that the U.S. will have to eventually fight Germany, whether we really want to or not. And so he refers to us as the great arsenal of democracy, kind of foreshadowing that we are going to be fighting to re-implement democracy globally and reestablish that principle and not allow this dictator to take any more control of these areas. We already talked about us getting further involved in this war with the Lend-Lease Act, which meant Great Britain no longer had to pay full cash for the weapons they were using or buying from us. They were able to buy them on credit, payment deferred till after the war. I want to talk for a second about support for Stalin. We will form an alliance with Stalin once Hitler invades the Soviet Union. It's kind of the principle of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We are just thankful that the Soviet Union is also fighting Hitler. Even though we don't really agree with Stalin or his communist ways, we appreciate the help from another superpower. And lastly, I just want to touch base on the German wolf packs. So at this time, not only is the United States providing Lend-Lease aid to Great Britain, they are also providing it to the Soviet Union. And we are also beginning to ship goods ourselves across the Atlantic. And we know that this was dangerous during World War I, and it's once again dangerous during World War II, because we have large groups of German U-boats at night patrolling the area where they're expecting convoys to be coming in with Allied weapons and materials. And these large groups of submarines were referred to as German wolf packs. They would encounter a ship of goods, and they would try to blow the ship up. So FDR is perturbed by this and trying to find a solution without bringing us officially into war, but he does give the U.S. Navy permission to attack any U-boats in self-defense. And eventually, with things like radar, these Wolfpack attacks were minimized because we were able to detect their location early on. Alright, we'll pick up with our further preparations for war tomorrow. Write down any questions you have.